I used to smoke like 4 or 5 per day.
You have to smoke, say, minimum 5 straws to have like a pain-free day.
Because without it, you feel like as if you can't cope, like as if something's missing in you.
According to the latest police statistics, the amount of drug-related crimes increased by 11% last year. It's estimated that drug abuse is costing South Africa 20 billion rand annually and could pose a bigger threat to the country's future than the AIDS pandemic. Francis Holly is 29, lives in Inanda in KwaZulu-Natal, and he's addicted to heroin, or wunga as it's called on the streets.
I can say that around about 70 to 80% of the people staying in that area at Inanda use wunga.
I can't actually control it, and my life's a mess.
Rocco and Francis have been addicts for 3 years, and they say that they cannot get over their addiction. Nearly 6 months ago, the Maharaj brothers were in exactly the same place. They started smoking heroin as teenagers, but are now completely drug-free.
What would have happened if you were still on drugs?
There would have been no life. You would have ended up in jail or ended up dead. I never thought I'd stop it. Always thought that I'd die smoking. That's how serious it was.
They live in Chatsworth near Durban, where it's estimated that heroin affects about 70% of the households here. Their addiction tore their family apart. Anil Maharaj is their father.
We would say to them, we wish you were dead, you know. It would have been easier for us as a family to handle that, handle the fact that you guys were dead, you know. So that we know they will be in a better place. And their pain and suffering would stop, and our pain and suffering would stop.
It's tough to say that. I mean, that must have broke your heart.
It still does. Because there's a lot of parents out there who don't have the means.
Do you have any concept of what you put your family through?
Yes, we knew.
And you wouldn't feel bad?
When you're smoking, you don't care. As long as you're getting a drug, you're not worried about anyone else.
Anil Maharaj has spent over 400,000 rands trying to rehabilitate his 2 sons and finally found a clinic called ARCA in Durban North.
Our program, we detox them in 3 days, and they can go home and they must recover in their environment. I was very skeptical.
But it worked. The Maharaj brothers have been clean for nearly 6 months now, and their family thinks it's a miracle. Carte Blanch decided to put this rehab to the test. With run-ins with the law and little left to lose, Rocco and Francis volunteered to go through the process.
Rocco and Francis are 2 self-confessed heroin addicts, and they're about to try and give up their habit here at this rehab with the help of a drug called Naltrexone.
Assisted Recovery Clinic of Africa, or ARCA, in Durban North is where Dr. Prakash Naidu has helped over 600 people get over various addictions with the help of Naltrexone.
Naltrexone is a non-addictive anti-craving medication. A drug addict, such as a heroin addict, takes Naltrexone. There's absolutely no way that he can get addicted to heroin. So in a sense, it's more of a chemical incarceration rather than a physical incarceration.
Naltrexone is not a new drug. It was developed in the 1960s for returning American soldiers from Vietnam, many of whom were substance abusers.
They initially thought that the drug that the Germans had developed in the Second World War called methadone would be a very good medication. The problem with methadone is that once you start, it is very difficult to get them off it. So then the US government said, can we develop a non-addicting drug that acts like a protective mechanism around their brain? Nothing else. You should not be, you cannot abuse it, you cannot get high on it, you have no withdrawal symptoms. And that was Naltrexone.
Percy Menzies works for the drug company DuPont in India, who originally manufactured Naltrexone. When he witnessed the drug's effectiveness, he felt it was his life's mission to help drug addicts become drug-free. He started ARCA in America and now runs 2 clinics in St. Louis. Dr. Prakash Naidu read about his work on the internet and through this started an affiliated branch in Durban. Naltrexone works like a protective helmet. It blocks the opiate receptors in the brain, denying the heroin access.
So what happens if you are on Naltrexone and then you take heroin? Do you still get a high?
If you use heroin, you just wasted your money. That medication, heroin, cannot activate the brain.
Traditional rehab takes months and the patients are isolated from their daily lives. The protocol that Percy has developed takes about a week before the recovering drug addicts are able to resume their normal lives. Francis and Rocco are about to start the process.
Detox is done by intravenous therapy, and the patient is given what we call short-acting opiate antagonists. This hastens the detox process.
Before naltrexone can be administered, the heroin has to be cleaned out of their systems.
Rocco has had his last use of heroin this morning, and we expect his withdrawals to start pretty soon.
I'm very scared for the withdrawals.
Rocco is now well sedated. He will experience a bit of withdrawals, but it's actually compressing 10 days of withdrawal perhaps into 2 days. Feeling good? You're in La La Land, is it? It feels very relaxed and very calm.
Naltrexone isn't only used to treat heroin addiction, it's also being used to treat alcoholism and opiate addictions.
Day 2, the heroin is still being flushed out of their systems and both Rocco and Francis are going through drug withdrawal.
They've put me on drips and medication and I'm hardly feeling anything. Actually feeling quite well.
Heroin is one of the most difficult drugs to get over. Although Rocco has tried to kick the habit many times, he's always failed.
One rehab before, I was there for a week and I ran away.
I've thought about giving it up a lot of times. I've tried once, but the craving was just too much.
On day 3, the detox process is complete and Rocco and Francis's urine tests come up negative for heroin.
I'm feeling fresh, better than ever.
Feeling happy, being able to even laugh. I'd never even laugh without having a smoke.
So today now, I'm going to start you on a special tablet that's going to block those heroin receptors.
Naltrexone has FDA approval and is non-addictive with few side effects.
Right, open your mouth.
Professor Charles O'Brien is a psychiatrist at the Addiction Center at the University of Pennsylvania and says naltrexone has a good track record in America.
For opiate addicts, it's 100% success rate if they take it. So if you give them the medication, like for example, the study that was done in Russia, they were randomly assigned to either the depot naltrexone or placebo, and the success rate was very, very high for those people getting naltrexone. I think maybe in that case it was 80 or 90%, but because as long as they're on it, they're protected 100%. The only people who would fail is those who stop the medication.
On average, heroin addicts need between 4 to 5 fixes a day. That's 125 Rand. That's just over 3,500 Rand a month and well over 40,000 Rand a year. But the personal costs are very seldom quantified.
Apart from rehab, we also supported their habit. We used to give them their monies for their drug in the morning and afternoon.
What?
Just that they don't become criminals. We know they are drug addicts. We didn't want them now to become criminals as well.
Wait. You're telling me that you had to give them money in the morning and the evening so that they could buy drugs, and that was your best option?
Exactly. Absolutely, yeah.
There you are, boy.
On the 4th day, Rocco's family came to visit him to see his progress.
I can't believe 4 days he's done this. 3 years now. I haven't seen you smile even, because...
Strange.
Yeah, I got my boy back. Hey?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so nice to know that there's something that can make a difference in 3 or 4 days compared to the struggle we've been through for this last year.
The program has completely transformed the lives of the Maharaj family.
As much as we prayed to God that we want this difference, we want the change, we wanted a miracle, but the miracle was around for many, many years. This is why I can't understand why didn't someone do something about this earlier.
If naltrexone has been out there for the last 40 or so years, and it is a wonder drug, then why is it that we haven't known about it?
There's no profit left in this drug. There's no patent on it. So most drug companies will not be interested in marketing it.
It's day 6 and Rocco and Francis have completed the program and are ready to face the real world with the help of Naltrexone.
I don't actually want to ever go back to it, to have that everyday suffering, every day having to get up and look for money, having to steal, and so I'm glad I can just wake up and live a normal life again.
Never, I'm never going to go back to it. After seeing what it's done to me and the pain it's caused my family, I don't want that life.
Naltrexone costs about 1,200 rands a month and is a lot less than a drug addict would spend scoring drugs. Dr. Naidu believes that it should be offered by the state to all drug addicts.
I think it's high time that this is accepted as a medical disease like diabetes, hypertension, accepted by the medical aids, affected by the medical funders. Because if you look at the consequences of the addiction as far as crime goes, costs to the criminal justice system, we're talking of massive amounts of money, more than any other diseases in the world.
The pill cannot be taken in isolation. All patients and family members have to go to counseling on a regular basis.
And we tell people that without psychosocial counseling, individual counseling, group counseling, family counseling, people are not going to do well.
Tell us, how was your week so far?
Hassling with sleeping, but now it's gone okay.
Prakash, what is your success rate?
At least half of them are still clean.
Are there patients of yours who haven't relapsed?
It is a chronic relapsing disease. But we allow people to get their life back on track. They may relapse, but they have a formula now to get back on track.
On day 11, we arranged to meet Rocco and Francis again to see how they were coping.
Bye-bye. That was Rocco's mum. We were on our way to interview Rocco to check on his progress, and she's just let us know that Rocco has disappeared from home.
Francis, on the other hand, was doing exceptionally well.
It's wonderful.
His mother, Nokwazi, is thrilled.
But today, it's my little angel. My Francis of the years.
A month after their treatment began, we asked Rocco why he went missing. He said he had an argument with his family that morning and is struggling to fit back into society.
I thought about using drugs, heroin, but I didn't go and score anything.
Although the road is long, both Rocco and Francis are looking for work and they've managed to stay off the heroin.
Okay, well done. How are you feeling now? Are you having any... Feeling happy?
Yeah, one day at a time. But there's a big difference from a few weeks back.
Now I can actually wake up and think of something to do, not actually just waking up and thinking of, hey, where am I going to get the money to smoke? I see that there is a future now.